In 2019, I had a heart attack while teaching a class because I was just purely redlining. I left law enforcement in 2021 to pursue Achilles heel tactical full time, and it's the best decision I ever made. If you're going to do military, civilian, and law enforcement, you cannot be a bullshit. You have to be good because you can only market shit for so long and then everyone knows it's shit. When you're going at those speeds, then you realize that, okay, shooting is a 100% visually stimulated and forced activity. And this way we've been taught over the years in white and black military doctrine, white and black law enforcement doctrine is not just wrong, it's setting you up for absolute fucking failure when it comes to rounds per second now on the job, reacting to somebody who wants to take your life because you wear a gun and a badge.
This is Ryan Petit, and you guys are watching the Armed Insights podcast. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Armed Insights podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Petit, and owner of Rifle and Pistol Defense Training, where we specialize in law enforcement, military, and civilian training. I'm super excited to have you on the show today, Rick Crawley from Achilles Heel Tactical. How you been, man?
Good.
Thanks. I'm excited to have you out. I've been wanting to start this for a while now. Biggest thing for me is getting people in here that we can talk about training, what we're doing out there as instructors, law enforcement, whatever it may be. But you've been traveling a lot, huh?
Yeah.
Tell me about where you've been, man.
Yeah, I just got back from Canada. We were doing some stuff with the Canadian Special Forces out there, and 2 weeks prior to that, we were in the Netherlands, just outside of Amsterdam, training with DSI out there, their counterterrorism unit. But yeah, it's been quite a bit of travel this year, as it is every year.
Booming business, which is good. As you know, I've been a student in your classes.
Yeah.
I wanted you to come on the podcast because I know that you're a phenomenal instructor. I know that we have a lot of the similarities when it comes to curriculum and what we're teaching.
Mm-hmm.
So the biggest thing for me is just getting you in here and kind of talking about how you stay on top of the game. We know it's a super crazy world and what we're living in right now. But as far as training goes, before we even get into that, travel, man. How the hell are you managing this travel? Like, you're going all over.
Yeah, travel's definitely tough when you're doing like the work-life balance and trying to make sure that you're home for the wife and you're home for your kids and you're not that absent father, all while trying to maintain a good relationship with customers on not just our training business side, but also the training center side. It's a lot to keep up with. And then obviously trying to come up with a good support system with, the wife does support it. My kids really support and like what they, I hear from my wife, them telling their friends what daddy does. It's kind of cool that I do have a very supportive network back home. But also within my team. This is a company that I started in 2017 when, I was Googling while sitting in the police academy after exiting the military on how to start a business in the state of Ohio. And then from there, it's moved from just me as the primary instructor to now I've got Paul, Dave, we just brought on Shane, and we're bringing on another new guy. So it's going to be, it's been full steam ahead since 2023 with the team moving forward, and it kind of being just absent from just me in front of students on a virtual side as well as an in-person side. The traveling and managing from east to west coast, a lot of people I think overthink the travel with guns side of house, but logistics nonetheless are pretty taxing to make sure that you have all your ducks in a row to run the class and not just be at your best for the performance level that you're going to be at to convey a clear message and teach someone something and leave that state or that area, that group of individuals with a ton of value. It's also just a lot to figure out with planning and getting back because of flight delays and cancellations and all the things that can come up. You got to be kind of willing to accept it and then flexible and patient and adjusting to wherever that journey is going to take you. When I go from one place to another, there's always going to be specific challenges with every destination.
Yeah, I can tell you firsthand, watching you, being your friend, following you on social media, I mean, you're all over, whether it's Europe, Canada. So that's something that I know that I would want to know. Like, what's that travel like? Being a business owner myself, having a firearms training company. If I go to Indiana to train Indiana police, I think it's tasking on me.
Yeah.
So I can't even imagine what it's like, traveling the country. But that's all good stuff, man, and I'm glad to see you're doing it, and you're doing it well. And I can tell you this from still watching you instruct your guys. Just last week we were together. I was just watching you for a little bit. You do a fantastic job at being relatable with the guys, but also, or girls, and also still being able to carry yourself, knowing that 2 days prior maybe you just came back from another trip. So hats off to you on that, man. It's super exciting stuff.
Yeah, it's come a long way. I used to, like year one, 2017, 2018, 2019, it was basically up until COVID, it was just like throw steel in the truck, grab all the targets, grab all the stands, and get to said location. And then one thing led to another, where we're now, we're flying all over the place, and I can't just take what I always have as like a consistent variable to travel with. I have to rely on heavily with, making sure action targets, they've been my number one industry partner since year one, and making sure that, hey, I need to stay on top of you sending my targets where, with what hosts, and making sure that they land and they get there safely prior to me getting there. My wife and I were just talking about how we used to keep all the steel targets in our walkout basement because I had no place to store anything. And then I ended up upgrading to a 6x10 trailer I would pull behind my 4Runner, and I'd head through the mountains of Kentucky, and it would just be bottoming out and screaming at me. And I'm like, just shift already. And it came from there to now we've got a 20-foot long, some odd long trailer, and we're, taking stuff, and we take stuff from my training center in Central Ohio up to ORD, and now we've got a 40-foot long shipping container, and it's all custom, and we, ship it from one place to the other whenever we run big events. So it's been crazy to see the growth just within how logistics have scaled, but also just how much stuff we've accumulated. Just through partnerships and having to, necessities to purchase for the firearms training business. And then with the event side, like ORD, it's just turned into a beast that it's like, man, we need 200 target stands to even make this thing go around. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear you say that. And we'll get back to the training side here a little bit farther down, but your new facility. I have not personally been there yet. Seen a lot of pictures, but tell me what that's been like. And it seems like it's just a great facility to be at. The guys that I know that have trained there, I know you said it's in Southern Ohio. Tell me a little bit about your facility and the projects you got going on, or the projects that you just finished.
Yeah, so we purchased Aero Concepts Training Center in 2023, and that was with the mission and the goal of like having a home base. A place that we wouldn't have to store like the trailer and all the steel and target stands and everything that we were accumulating over the years and for running courses and events with. It was a place that I could run my training classes without having to ask for permission first. I got so sick and tired of dealing with range owners that were just wishy-washy. Hey, it's a set price. When we agree upon it, I want something in writing. Oh, a handshake deal is all we give. And it's like, okay, well, next year now you're asking for double what we had agreed upon. Oh, you don't remember that conversation? How convenient. And I just got so sick and tired of how ranges did business in not just this state, it was literally across the country, all the way to California. Now, I've been screwed over a number of times with whether it's been, hey, we're going to agree upon this rate or agree upon these terms, and then those terms were adjusted to benefit only one side. And it's like, well, if the consistency here is that I am getting the traveling trainer is getting screwed over, then I'm no longer going to be traveling nearly as much, and I need a place that I can call home. One, my kids are getting older, and my daughter's going to be 11 in next month, and it's just like that right there crushes me to think about. Yeah. But I missed a year and a half of my daughter's life being in the military and deploying. And that was the reason, major reason why I got out. Having my son and not wanting to be the absent father, that was, the big challenge and the real big motivation when I had the opportunity and a property came up for sale, that I purchased it. And to give some context about the property, in 2019, I ran a class there, and I was hosted by Vinny from Monsoon Tactical, another great Ohio company, and phenomenal dude. And he wanted to host me down there. I was like, seems like in the middle of nowhere. He's like, yeah, but I'll make sure we fill it. And I was like, okay. So shot in the dark, went down there, had a great 2-day class. And I was like, this place is so cool. And then a few years later, it became on the market. It's on the sheriff's auction. One of my students told me about it. And I was like, if this isn't a sign that like this is an opportunity, then I must be blind. So I remember calling my wife about it, checking out the realtor.com ad. It was like on auction for like 52 acres for $305,000. I'm like, I got to do this. I have to be able to pull the trigger on this. And then, one thing led to another. I was like, hey, I don't want to sell equity in AHT. I own 100% of that, but I don't necessarily need to own 100% of the training center business. I just want to directly benefit from having a place that is, my own. So I called upon, believe it or not, Paul Costa, one of my trainers that at the time is now in the same year. Yeah, phenomenal dude. And I've watched that guy come from student to now a primary instructor it's insane to think about how far the guy has come alone, but like how far our relationship has grown. Not just being student trainer, but now trainer and peer level to now be business owner, partner in business together. It's phenomenal to have that and say I have that, but also watch this guy go from student to trainer who could teach, but was very focused within who he could teach. Like he could teach law enforcement very well because he was from that space. He could teach military guys because military guys could relate to the way his teaching style was. But I explained to him, like, civilians aren't going to pay for this, dude. They're not going to sit there while you have a massive chaw in and use jargon that they won't understand. You have to clearly convey a message and teach them something. And I know you want to do it at a very high level. And in order to do it at a high level, we have to understand shooting at a high level. That dude went balls to the wall on that. Like, he understands shooting at a degree which sometimes I'm learning from. And now it's fantastic to watch this company grow, but as a trainer and watching where my business came from 2017 to 2023, and to now be able to, on a performance-based wage system that we have built within our training staff, Paul's set to make like 6 figures. It's like, that's fucking insane to me.
That's amazing.
This is a occupation which I've had conversations with guys who took me out to lunch when I was in young, 2018, 2019 time frame, took me out to lunch, paid for my lunch, and asked if I would absolve AHT to come work for their training business. Because we both know sitting here that this isn't something that you could provide a living for your family and do full time. I was still in law enforcement at the time, totally believing in that I couldn't do this full time gig type deal, and I was just at the moment conflicted with the choice of like, do I absolve what I have starting to build steam with, or do I stay on this path and say no thank you and I continue pushing forward with AHT or jump ship to this other brand? And it was pretty cool to make the decision for myself, be my own boss, and see how far now that's come. I would have kicked myself in the ass so hard.
Oh yeah.
Hindsight 2020. If I would have made a stupid,
no,
we wouldn't. So I would have made a stupid decision. But getting back to the training center, Central Ohio location, 52-acre training facility. It's 11 acres currently developed. We have a gym. We have our our gated training facility where our members can key out, key in. They have 365, 24/7 access to the place. We keep within the confines of the Ohio Revised Code for shooting. After 10 p.m., they got to run suppressed, but we are 100% promoting night vision training, low light training. We want our members to be able to train the way they should be able to train to preserve life, liberty, and happiness within what this country stands for. And that training center right there is a perfect example. We are a year in now, finally, and it's so cool to watch all the members. They're getting hit for their resubscription for their membership, and seeing the churn rates being so low, like 3 out of the 97 members that we have.
That shows that you're doing
in
it
year
right.
one. That hey, this is providing them a place that they are free to conduct the training that they need to be conducting, and without incident. This was their first year running USPSA matches. We yesterday just got finished up shooting it and running it. And it was our 3rd USPSA match, and it ran so much smoother than the last 2. And, I'm not even having to be there. The last one I wasn't there. I was in Amsterdam. But putting the right guys in place and having a good match director and having good property managers that can get all the setup done. So I just roll in, I'm like, cool guys, everything's set up, I'm ready to shoot. And now I get to start enjoying the brands that we built, and on the training side, watching that company grow, bringing on A-class trainers and not lowering the bar or not trying to Houdini my consumer base. I've watched other training companies do it over the years, and if I'm signing up for a brand, I want to know who's going to be training me. So we're 100%. Very clear, very transparent. Like if it's not going to be Rick Crawley, it says Paul Costa, it says David Acosta, it says Shane Parman, and any other future trainers that we bring out. And having a team, building a kind of a flagship brand within the training space, but having a team to constantly come back and from Dave's experience and Paul's experience and Shane's experience and my experience to bring it all together and build one curriculum that we all believe in based off the fundamentals and the way that we're going to teach them, the way we're going to build a lesson plan within our course of fire for our baseline classes and performance baseline classes, vehicle classes, etc. It's been really cool to see how fast it's actually accelerated within growth. I get DMs and I get emails saying, hey, I'm seeing a lot of new with AHT and the way you guys have developed your curriculum in a very short period of time. And I completely take no credit for that. It's based off the team effort that we were able to create a more comprehensive curriculum in a shorter amount of time. Because the trial and error or just running and putting checks in boxes, like I've experienced outcome-based training in the military and I've experienced outcome-based training in law enforcement. And that's why this company is named Achilles Heel Tacticals, because that outcome-based training is not setting guys up for success. So we built a process-focused curriculum and lesson plan, and it's only gotten better by having more dudes associated and kind of chipping in and putting their 2 cents and adding, subtracting, and just refining over time.
No, that's
what we teach, where we teach it.
That's a really interesting way of putting it, because when I look back, even at the ORD days and then taking classes, I don't even know if you remember, but yeah. I've been through your classes, and to see where you guys are at, me personally, and I'm not afraid to say it, and I'm a training company owner, seeing where you're at on the map, right? I would consider your training company and everybody associated with you guys as some of the best trainers in the country. Mm-hmm. I personally know Paul. I think he's an amazing human. Yeah. We've went down some serious rabbit holes.
I'm sure.
And,
he loves to talk.
Canine world. Yeah, he's a talker. Yeah. But he is over the top with knowledge. Yeah. And I've met some of your other instructors, and I think they're fantastic humans, and they truly care about it. And the one thing that I will tell you guys, what I see from the outsider looking in, is that there is a lot of similarities to what you guys see as being pragmatic or real life and what is actually going to benefit the shooter. Mm. Whether it be law enforcement, whether it be reaction times, whatever the specific task is, you guys have a great structure of how you get there. Mm-hmm. And that's one thing that I've always liked about you and then in the company. But the facility, I cannot wait to get out there and check it out. I think it's going to be a fun day when I'm there, and I plan on getting out there. But the training side of it, the training side is something that I think you guys have done a fantastic job with. And watching you guys build your team and then what you guys are doing with it is something I think a lot of the companies are trying to achieve. Mm-hmm. And what I don't think a lot of people realize is just how hard that is. Yeah. If I asked you, what's been harder the last 3 years, this or being a police officer? That's something I want you to think about. Yeah. I'm still a full-time police officer. We go through a lot of, high-intensity calls or critical incidents, right? But juggling both sides of that and then still being relevant to what you're putting out there, I don't think a lot of people know that. And you see these companies pop up, and then they go away, and they pop back up on social media, and they go away, and then what circle do you belong to? There's a lot of drama in this industry. Yeah. The firearms industry alone, there's a lot of drama.
There's just a lot of animosity.
100%.
It comes down to that, because the guys that have no animosity towards others, you don't see them busy talking shit about others. They're too busy. Like in my training company, all of my guys, they'll hear through the grapevine and bring it to my attention. It's like, that matters to me zero. Like this B-list instructor's opinion of me or B-list whatever, like it is what it is, man. I have to focus on what's important to me, and what's important to me is the not just providing for my family, but also providing for those who have believed in me since day one, believed in Paul since day one, believed in Dave and Shane since day one. Because, you know, I just had a student reach out to me. He's like, hey, my sister, they have been coming to my classes in California for a long time. And he's like, my sister is pregnant. She won't be able to attend the class. This was the beginning of the year. Well, apparently next month, her due dates are coming around. And he's like, hey, I want to order a onesie from her, and an AHT onesie for my new nephew or niece. And I'm like, that's cool. He's like, but I want it to come from you with a handwritten card. I think it'd mean a lot from her or to her. And it's like, that right there is the reason why I have zero time to set aside for some B-list dude's opinion. Because honestly, if you got that kind of animosity in your heart for someone else's success, it's like, dude, you've got way too much time on your hands, period. Like, and shame on you if you have a family and you have kids, that you're wasting time thinking about someone else and hating on someone else in this space to just tear them apart, when I've got bigger problems, not just also things that are more important, like making sure that I get a onesie from the distribution center from Columbus, Ohio. They're going to send it to my house. I'm going to handwrite her a letter thanking her for all the years that she's dedicated into providing a future and to be able to protect her own. And it's cool because I'm going to send it to her, and she's going to open it. She's going to have a baby. She's going to have her baby onesie. She's going to have a note from me. And it's like, those opportunities I never even considered when starting a company that I would come up. You know, the podcast, the opportunities to go to events in different countries and be hosted by special forces units, or to go and speak on behalf of like veterans success outside of the military, or, you know, service member success outside of the military. Like, those things I were definitely on the board, like the storyboard for saying where I want to definitely go and what I definitely want to do and giving back. But like, that was never on the radar. So like, the cool thing, it's come in. No different than, you know, you have a daughter. When she comes to you, or my son comes to me and says, hey, Daddy, I want to do this. It's like, dude, this is your opportunity. You had it. You have one opportunity to either strike it down or make it happen. And it's funny, like, my wife said the same thing. My daughter came to her yesterday and was like, Mommy, can you teach me how to make pancakes? And she had a choice. She could either delay, or she could say, yes, let me teach you how to make pancakes. And she, because she's a good mother, says, yes, let me teach you how to make pancakes. And now my daughter knows how to make chocolate chip pancakes for herself.
She's ready to
cook
rock
eggs
and roll
for herself. And it's like, if you have those opportunities, you have to take full advantage of them. Because if you don't, that is me taking the next day for granted that this company is going to still be in business. And if you don't, because you're spending so much time thinking about others and hating on others and trying to tear others' empires down so that yours can even exist, it's like you are losing sight of, or you're completely ignoring all the opportunity that's around you. So kind of a long-winded spiel about everything, but
I couldn't agree more. And the biggest thing that, you know, hearing you say that shows and tells all the listeners, right, that you are a good human, and that these are things that you didn't see on your radar because of the accomplishments you made. Clearly, this female who's about to have a very important aspect of her life change for the better, having a child, which child rule the world, and we'll get into some of the things that you and I are doing together. But the fact that she wants that from you and it has meaning, and it will carry a lot of meaning, just goes to show the effect that you've had, not only on a tactical and firearms training level, but also as a personal level and what people think of you. So the people that talk shit and have time that want to say that there's this or there's that or he said this, you know, there's no noise for them.
Right.
And I couldn't agree better. But I love hearing things like this, and that's the whole point of this podcast. I mean, you have built basically an empire, and you still carry yourself with pride and dignity, which reflects upon everybody else, which is the main reason that, you know, I invite people on here that I respect and look up to as well. And I just love hearing things like that. So
yeah,
hats off.
To get back to your question about like law enforcement or this business, like this I started this company while sitting in the police academy. I was hired out of the police academy, and I've built this company majority up until 2021 while being in law enforcement. And it was until, at 2021, now I'm like, I remember my chief bringing me into the office and saying, Rick, I think you are on one side of the road committed to AHT, and on the other side of the road, if we're just saying, right and left lateral limit here, committed to being a police officer. He said, but I think you're in the middle of the road and getting smashed by every challenge that comes in front of you. And it made me think, and I was like, he's right. Like, I can't do this forever in both aspects. And the conversations, and this wasn't one conversation, it was multiple conversations I've had with trainers in the space of saying you can't do firearms training full time. So it was like this limiting thought that I allowed to control me and keep me in law enforcement longer than what was necessary, which, yeah, it was taxing. In 2019, I had a fucking heart attack while teaching a class because I was just purely redlining. I'm teaching a class at NOTTC up in Amherst, Ohio. While teaching the class, I have this incredible, weird feeling going on. With my left arm became like this slow radiating dull pain. It started to gravitate towards my left chest, and I was like, I'm 28 years old. There's no fucking way that it could be this. I think maybe it's some weird panic attack that's occurring out of just stress, anxiety, and just, hey, I worked from 6P to 6A, and now I'm here, and I'm trying to do this business. And one of the students that was there was a medic and EMT, and I was like, hey man, this is kind of what I'm feeling. He's like, dude, those are those are symptoms of a heart attack. He's like, let me take your pulse ox. He had stuff in his car. He's like, pulse ox looks fine, but I think he took my pulse, and he gave me a baby aspirin. I don't know what that's supposed to do. He's like, I can't legally give you nitro, but a squad can if that's what you're having. So I think at lunch you need to get a squad. Long story short, get a squad at lunch. And I remember I was like, this range will never allow me back if they see an ambulance heading lights and sirens to my bay.
It's funny that's all you were thinking
about. Dude, yeah. I told him, I said, meet me down the road at Dollar General. I'll meet you there. We will, you can check me out there. So I remember getting in there. They put their 12 lead on, said it looks fine, but they want to take me in for labs. And I was like, well, how long is that going to take? 3-4 hours. Like, no, dude, I have people coming from Virginia and out of state to this location for me to teach them something. I said, I'm a cop. I know how to refuse service. I deny service, sign my life away on that dotted sheet. And then I get back to training, and I'm thinking it's going away. It's not. It's getting worse. And I put a lot of stress and damage to my heart. I had a 100% occluded LAD. I remember at like 4:30, this was like 11:30, now 4:30 rolls around. I told the students, I was like, I'm like walking around like the Walking Dead, like holding my arm above my hand. Like
something's seriously wrong at this point.
I didn't accept that something was wrong until I got nauseous. And I was like, okay, my body's like telling me you don't know you're almost dead yet type deal. I was always told that my mental will outlast my physical in the military. So me being a hard-headed, hard-charging individual thinking like I'll sleep when I'm dead, that day almost came pretty fast because my LAD was 100% occluded. I had a myocardial infarction, which was basically a widowmaker heart attack. Yep. And I had to go, they did a heart cath through my radial artery. They said it was completely occluded, and they got all the blockage out, but said they wanted to keep me there, and then they wanted to go back in. So they went back in, and they said, there's this weird forming plaque that only exists in your LAD. We're going to have to put a stent in. So I had a stent in, 2019. We're now in 2025. Had no issues since, which thank God. But it brings me back to having to make decisions. It's like, yes, your mental health is suffering, but now your physical health is starting to suffer. And if you want to see your kids, your grandkids, kids grow up, your grandkids ever to, see your face and have a relationship with them, you're going to have to make a tough decision. So I left law enforcement in 2021 to pursue Achilles Hill Tactical full time. And it's the best decision I ever made. And I remember calling my wife, letting her know, I'm done with law enforcement. I'm going to do AHT full time. And there wasn't a panicked bone in her body. It was just, okay, let's do it. Like, it was full support. Those moments are like crazy to go back to.
Oh, I can tell you right now that obviously thinking and hearing and seeing you, it's obviously something that touches your heart.
Yeah.
But I like hearing stories like that because, as you know, law enforcement is a difficult time right now.
For sure.
There's a lot of ups and downs, but I like hearing this. This is what I consider a success story. If you get out and you do something and you do good, I think that you did the right thing. It's nice to hear you say you have no regrets. It's been the best decision, and clearly you've been doing a good job at it. So those are one of those things that I really enjoy sitting back and being part of this and listening to. But physically wise, you've been healthy since then?
Yeah, yeah. And I love my time in law enforcement. I say it at all of our instructor development courses. We were just in Utah teaching the FBI and some other government agencies on how to be better trainers. Just like we went to Canada to teach their special forces instructors how to be better teachers. Law enforcement opened a ton of doors. I was a very introverted individual growing up, not very outgoing in the talking to people realm. I was an athlete, I was those kinds of things, and outgoing in those aspects of like always wanting to be in a performance style event or sport or activity. When I talk and do my introduction, I thank law enforcement for now being able to solve problems on the fly, like whether they are big, dark, hairy, and scary, or they're beautiful, or they're tiny, tall, scary, ugly. It doesn't matter. The problem that they are calling you for, you have to solve it, and you can't solve problems if you don't communicate well. So for me to kind of be literally ripped out of my shell of comfort zone to now be thrown at every problem, because as you know, in law enforcement, you learn based off experience on the job, the trial and error process that is, and your first call on coaching phase or FTO could be your last. And that's the level of stress that goes into it. Also requires a level of performance on demand that's going to either sink or force you to swim. That was very important for my development in being able to clearly convey a message, and not at a level of my understanding, but the level of understanding of my audience. And as you already know, the audience that we were around in law enforcement, sometimes we're talking to the most educated individuals, sometimes we're talking to the least educated individuals. Regardless, we got to get the point across on what's going to make sense to them to diffuse the situation and get a grasp on the situation to solve their problem. And that was a huge, huge benefit to me being able to teach. And it opened other doors without, some kind of experience in law enforcement. Some law enforcement agencies wouldn't bring you in. So it opened a lot of doors for me to get my first take into teaching other agencies. And that's when I also realized, like, hey, this whole dream of yours of only teaching military and law enforcement, that's not reality. It's actually going to be a lot more civilian, and you're actually going to enjoy teaching civilians more. Why? Because they're not told to be there. They're volunteering. They've already done their research on you. They know why they want to be there and listen to you. Teach them something. And then for law enforcement classes, the guys that are just there to put the check in the box for the day and collect the paycheck, that was, there's classes that are like that. Then there's classes that are like, they're just savagely hungry for you to teach them something and give them kind of a framework to work on that is way better than what they currently have. And that's the best and probably the most rewarding part of the job is I probably in the next 8 hours am not going to make you the best shooter. I'm not going to make you me, because there's not a person in the capacity of my job that can do that. What I can do is identify your weaknesses and really show you your strengths and capabilities behind a gun, show your capabilities and limitations so that you make better decisions. Also leave you with a framework that's going to make you better and track that progression with data over time, so that it's not like, hey, it's Rick's opinion of how we get better. It's actually like, it's a foolproof plan. You putting rounds per second on target as fast as you possibly can, driving track at practical speeds, implementing fundamentals at practical speeds, and attempting to not violate a single principle behind the gun. When you're going at those speeds, then you realize that, okay, shooting is a 100% visually stimulated and forced activity. And this way we've been taught over the years in white and black military doctrine, white and black law enforcement doctrine, is not just wrong, it's setting you up for absolute fucking failure when it comes to rounds per second now on the job, reacting to somebody who wants to take your life because you wear a gun and a badge. So when I kind of got that reality check, I realized that my focus is not just to prove to others that I can teach them and I can perform on demand and be a good shooter. It's about what can I leave here with that is going to give them the highest return on investment for the time that I have with them, which sometimes it's 8 hours, sometimes it's a whole week. So if we got 40 hours, we can do X amount of work. If we have 8 hours, we can do X amount of work. But I ultimately want to leave them with a training framework that is a new design. And it's not a revamped, like out of left field design. It's comprised from all the lessons I've learned, all the experiences I've had, Dave's had, Paul's had, Shane's had, and we bring it into one comprehensive curriculum and framework that they can actually adopt when we leave. Because I know that the work that's going to be required from them when we leave, that's what's ultimately going to make them better shooters. My goal is to make you self-aware with a gun. If I can prompt thought, promote thinking, and educate you with kind of a baseline and establish that baseline, hence the name and the course name being a baseline course, we're going to do stance, grip, sight picture, sight alignment, trigger control, breathing, and follow through. I'm going to focus the next 8 hours on the fundamentals. Well, when you go to a performance baseline class, the fundamentals are still being harped on. They're still being focused on. Just the training framework, like the lesson plan, the course of fire, are different. Because in my opinion, the person that makes fundamentals fun or super basic and boring is me. So if I can comprise a lesson plan that is all focused around fundamentals, but now no longer isolating each individual one, now it's forcing them all to be applied, not being thought about and then applied, but just being applied, because there's no thought other than keeping in focus what is important in this engagement and staying disciplined and consistent behind the gun in all the areas of the fundamentals. That's what this company has done very, very well at. And not just with my training courses, it's Paul's, it's Dave's, and it's with Shane's. And that is what has made, I think, the demand. It's created the demand. Along with the exposure that, guys ask me, they're like, well, how'd you blow up overnight? It's like, dude, I've been doing this for 8 years now, full time since 21. And if I've been doing it for full time since 21, you think you're going to be an overnight success because you took a class with me and a couple other guys. Now you're going to go start something. Dude, all the power to you to go and try to do what we've done. I don't yet have a carbon copy framework for you to go buy and then you to be successful at, and I'll never sell one because I know that's not a reality, right? Guys have so much ambition, so many ideas, and fail to execute. And that failure to execute is not just within strategy and all the business things. It's like, dude, you have to choose a lane to be really, really, really good. And you can niche down, like there's some guys that just do IWB stuff. There's guys that just do pistol stuff. There's guys that only train law enforcement. There's guys that only train military. And it's like, if you're gonna do military, civilian, and law enforcement, you cannot be a bullshitter. You have to be good because you can only market shit for so long and then everyone knows it's shit.
Yep. Well, I could tell you this, just to reiterate a couple of things, and I want to highlight a few things that you said. One thing that I'll point out for sure is you guys have, when you talk about baseline and then going to performance, one thing that I like about your guys' training style, and everybody's, Dave's the only one I really haven't spent any time with, but realistically, when I look at what you guys are putting out there, it's true to fact. And when I say that, I mean you're breaking down fundamentals and principles to an aspect that's relatable and understandable, and like you said, can carry on. But the other side of this is I heard a few words like standards and accountability and stuff like that, and speed. Anybody who's been through my training knows that evidence-based performance, evidence-based training, or speed and accountability is something that I strive for. And I didn't make this up or reinvent the wheel. A lot of the things I learned from classes like yours, but standards, right? Let's talk about two things that I think a lot of people who are going to listen are going to be interested. And I want to bring that up, and then I want to jump to something else. But let's talk about your dope drill and then the man card drill.
Yeah. These are probably the two most famous drills that I've come up with. The man card drill I came up with 7 years ago. It's just a very simple, the short card came out in 2018, and it's something that was tested at first. There was no actual card. It was just like, hey, I'm finding myself in this job doing where the gun's no longer out of the holster. It's like at a compressed position. I could be up on the radio, whether search warrant or felony traffic stop. I'm having to do something. I actually want to be capable at a 25 yards of distance with a man-sized target The C-zone steel is what we use at 25 yards to be able to, if I was at this position, to have a useful gun and accurate rounds on target. And I actually want to be able to do it on demand where I don't have any makeups. Like one round is it. First round, if it can be accurate, so can the rest. It's based on the fundamental execution that is required for round 1 to 2, 3, 4, 5, however many I'm going to shoot. So the compressed ready in 1 second. Then from holster, I saw a lot of guys defining success and like the Opata Qual. Like, dude,
Joke.
it's a joke. It's a lowest common denominator kind of catch-all for qualified immunity with a gun. And when you're looking at the standard as a whole, and people still fail this, and people think that they're good shooters because they crush the Opata Qual every year, multiple times a year for the last 25 years, it's like you're getting a false sense of security and capability. You're not an asset, you're a liability if you think that is training. That is just shooting a target. That is a qualification to meet the lowest common denominator standard for the state of Ohio. So when I kind of saw that, I was like, dude, guys are not getting the gun useful at practical speeds, and they're going to be a liability. So I wanted to know what a practical draw speed would be, whether under retention, 3, 2, or 1, from concealment, under cover of darkness, so weapons mounted light, or night vision. I wanted to know what would be a practical skill. So we broke it down. I put a target out. I shot it a bunch of times, took a bunch of different guys' assessments on that. And it started originally at 2 seconds. And I'm like, I don't know. I think that I'm seeing like I have way too much time. Well, my economy of motion smoothed out over time. And as it got more efficient, byproduct of that is speed. So we moved it to 1.5. And then I was like, well, I don't want this to just be a pistol drill. I want this to be rifle and pistol because patrol rifles exist in the car that I'm in, and I'm literally in the patrol car coming up with this drill. Like, it's wild to think about.
I love it.
And looking at the rifle, I wanted to have a low cover position, but not like at the target. I wanted to force the shooter down at like an uncomfortable degree and angle at 45 from their actual body, just pitch down so that they have a full field of view over the target. They can have their mount, their weapons on safe, but I actually wanted just to show them within 1 second in time what they could accomplish if they were consistent and disciplined behind the gun. So 1 second low ready, then a low second high ready, because if I'm going to go low, I can't only always go low. I how to be able to be flexible and go high or low depending on circumstance and situation I'm in. So that's iteration 4. Last iteration is iteration 5, which is a 1 transition 1 from rifle to pistol, and that's in 2.5 seconds. So it originally started at 3, and it was a ball buster at 3, believe it or not. A lot of dudes failed this drill, even when I had cards at 3 seconds. There's some guys that have cards when it was back in 3 seconds.
I wish it was still 3 seconds.
No. So over time, because I was like, hey, a lot of these guys that are succeeding, I'm watching them, and it's like there's too much time. I'm also thinking myself, I'm too comfortable. And I didn't like that, so I shaved a half second off, and I think we found the sweet spot because for the last 7 years, there's less than 192 cards out in existence. Nope, I'm sorry, less than 193. We just gave, the last card was in Canada to one of the Canadian Special Forces guys that crushed it. But out of the group of 14 dudes, only one guy got it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a really cool thing that became a very virally attractive drill all over the world. Like, guys were submitting videos and saying, I'm running the Achilles heel tactical, or at the time, I'm running the Achilles Tactics man card drill, and I'm over in Turkey, or I'm over in Canada, and
you're
I'm
like,
over
no, you
in
got to be here,
California. And I was like, at first I'm watching it, and I'm like, well, this is kind of cool. I mean, you can't get a card, but, and that's where all of the DMs started to roll in and emails started rolling. They're like, hey, can I get a card if I run it and submit the video to you? I'm like, no. And because I've stood at that standard and said, you have to literally be in front of me. We've had guys come from France, Switzerland, Germany, Poland, Australia, Canada, like all over the world come to either here, or guys come from all over Europe when I did my European tour in 2023 to run the man card drill. Now, there's not 192 individuals that have these cards. There's just 192 in circulation. So if I said that wrong, Clement, as you know from Chimera Strategy and Tactics, has 12 fucking cards. And 12 man cards is not an easy feat because every single one that he has, he had to earn in front of me. But it's reading at a second grade level for a guy with the skill set of his. And he's very comfortable under pressure performing in front of others. With all eyes watching, he was good. Now, there's been a lot of GMs that will pass it or fail it in front of me, and it's a test. Like Paul and I were just talking about it. It's a test of whether here, today, and now you can pass this standard. It's a test of fundamentals being executed at the time they're being asked. And if you can do that, congratulations, if you did it in front of me, you get a card. As you already know, when there's 20 dudes online and you got, after my demonstration, me going from left to right, right to left on the line, I'll get to guys and talented dudes, savage dudes with more time in service, more experience, more everything than myself or anyone else online. They're behind the gun at that compressor ready and they're just shaking.
Oh yeah.
And they're just like, shooter ready, stand by, beep, and they're just stressed to find that sight picture for that one round that I'm asking from them. And that's when I knew that I had a sensational drill that would be meaningful, that would force guys to get to the range, purchase a part-timer. It's the only way you're going to quantify what you're able to accomplish in time doing. If you can't conduct this task in this time and you never had a part-timer, you never knew what your capabilities were. And then the size of target was incorporated. So like, it was a very viral drill. I'm very proud of it, but it evolved because that was, again, reading at a second grade level, 90%, 99%, 90, whatever it is, percentage of me passing. I was like, I have to continue moving the standard forward. Baseline standards always have to progress. So in 2019, I came out with the long card. So I figured instead of 5, we'll do 13. Yeah. So, and in order to do the long card, you have to have obtained the short card first, which is kind of a cool like merit thing. And what's been earned, I'll never take from you. So like the short card guys, just you admit one. Guys are like, well, if I fail, do I lose my card? No, it's yours, dude. 2019 till current day, nobody has a long card. I have performed it in front of students, and I have failed it in front of students. I have performed it in front of my students and passed it in front of my students. So it's doable. The pro card came out in 2023 because I was like, hey, this short card thing's pretty easy now. Let's see if I can squeeze 2 rounds in the same time frame. So compress ready, 2 rounds 1 second. From draw, 2 rounds from holster, 1.5. Too low, too high ready, and then the 2 transition 2 is an absolute ball buster, which is just the icing on the cake, cherry on top of challenging drill. So it's evolved and it's really cool. Nobody has a pro card, nobody has a long card. There's 192 short cards in circulation, and I don't know how many individuals actually have them because there's guys 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, some have multiple.
Some guys have even more than that, like Clement. So the dope drill came out with in 2019. This was, instead of a finite pass-fail drill like the man card drill, I wanted to produce a lot more value. That's something that is more of like a course of fire, even though it says dope drill. It's a course of fire that's there to teach you something and show you whether you're progressing within the way you've been training or not. I always tell people, if you shot this once a month for the next 3 years, you have 36 trackable metrics to see if you're progressing or not as a shooter. And when guys have that dope is data on previous engagement. It's something I took from being a scout sniper in the military, coming into now being a cop. I needed to know with my pistol, what was my capability with 5 rounds at 5 yard lines that are very relatable to this job. So 5, 10, 15, 20, and 25 yards. Then when I'm in Europe, we run it in meters and we shoot this. Now, it was designed because I kept seeing guys shoot for pretty targets. It was designed for overspeed training, focus. So it's like, nope, you're going to shoot this prescribed as fast as you can. Off an auditory signal, from draw, shoot as fast as you can. From a low or high ready, shoot 5 rounds as fast as you can. What this was doing was teaching engagement, understanding of like acceptable sight pictures, what is actually connecting to target, what's not. Am I shooting based off of what I've been taught through cadence, or am I actually shooting what I see and visually can confirm in my sight? And these were all like very telling things for me as an individual shooting this drill. And we did it from 2019 to 2023 that way. Paul Costa obviously comes on in 2023 and says, Rick, there's this thing called hit factor. It's existed since 1970. I think we should incorporate that in the dope drill. This is where I told you this is all of a sudden 2023, this company has accelerated through challenges that I would never be able to accomplish by myself. And Paul was like, we got to start using hit factor for the dope drill. I've ran it in the last couple classes. It's fantastic. Guys are taking an actual metric that's unbiased to your opinion, my opinion, or anyone else online's opinion of what they just did in time. So we put point values on the target. We did USPSA scoring because there is that perforated edge line on my target that has A zone's worth 5, C zone's worth 3, D zone's worth 1. But the cool thing about the target itself, it has the anatomical reference structure of a human body, but it has a humanoid silhouette. So then you get to see in that D zone why those D zones are only worth 1 point, because there's a lot of voided space within a humanoid silhouette over his shoulder, in between arms, where those are gaps that would fit in a D zone. They don't fit on that target. It's actually a punishment of a -10. And that crushes your point value and your hit factor in total. So when we started incorporating this, we sent it out to a ton of people. We were like, shoot your dope drill. We did this dope drill challenge. A lot of talented shooters were shooting it. And they were trying to beat Paul. He wanted to do the dope drill. So every month he would send it out, post this video. If you can beat him, we'll send you to a class, or you can donate a class to anyone you want, which was really cool. We had some grandmaster shooters in USPSA shooting it. They would send us their data. Cool, I'm shooting a 9 hit factor. He's shooting a 10 hit factor. He's shooting a 12, 11. So we've got a wide range of like what is good, what is bad, and we can now comprise what is a goal for now pistol hit factor and goal for rifle hit factor, which served its purpose, man. And it's now the goal for a pistol when you shoot a dope drill. I'm always chasing, when I perform in front of my students, a 10 hit factor. In order to do that, you got to be a savage. You got to be locked on. You got to be squared away. The rifle 20 hit factor. Same exact thing. You got to be squared on. You got to be locked away, and you cannot ever see perfect information in your sights. It has to be acceptable. Pushing practical shooting to its extreme, but it's raw shooting skill. There's no movement. There's a presentation go, like just raw shooting engagement skill. And it's been really cool to, for a baseline, establish, hey, today, this is what I'm struggling with. So when I go and teach a class, I'm like, hey, we're going to run it cold. We're going to run it 25 or 5 to 25. I would suggest every time that I go to the range, I do this cold 5 to 25, then do it rinse and repeat 25 to 5. So it's a 50-round warm-up, and it gives me a really good diagnostic of how accurate I'm being within my diagnosis of what I did wrong at the last iteration. So, hey, I remember what I was sluggish on the 5. I could have done a predictive sight picture at this distance, or at 25 yards. I took too much time over confirming, still making mistakes in the end. So then the next time I do it, did I correct for those mistakes? And this drill has now taken off to be probably the drill that I'm most proud of. Like if I was to die later today or tomorrow, I'm very, very proud that this drill exists out there, because it's going to make law enforcement officers more accountable for the communities they serve. It's going to give them confidence in their capabilities. It's going to make them aware of their limitations, so that you don't have cops doing dumb shit like 25 yards, 17, 18 splits when I know they can't manage their sights to return to target at those speeds. Now there's some cops that I've seen that can manage their sights at quarter-second splits, and it's like, fuck yeah, man. But that's not the vast majority. And you're not who I'm worried about. That's also probably who's running my dope drill. And unfortunately, the lowest common denominator, low-hanging fruit cop, those guys are not running the dope drill, which, thanks to training organizations like yours and other training and trainers that are adopting that drill to use it, because it's a good drill. It's a concrete assessment with data, because when we use hit factor and I shoot 5 rounds, then I go down to the target, I mark them all with slashes, designating what I shot at 5 versus 25. Then I see my points. I'm like, cool, I got 25 points. That was the max capable points at that yard line available. And then I see that it took me, 5 seconds to do it. Well, do the hit factor, points divided by time, that's a 5 hit factor. So the guy who can do it in 2.5 seconds crushes you. He's got a 10 hit factor. Yep. Same score, half the time, higher hit factor. So now instead of building a cap or a final boss, there is no final boss. There's no beating or winning the hit factor. It's like, did I meet my goal of a 20 or a 10 with the pistol? And we even do it with, we'll do a rifle transition 5 pistols, so 6 total rounds, 150 total points. And believe it or not, the goal is still, because the majority of it is shot with pistol, to still be at a 10 hit factor, because there's still a lot of time just within the mechanics of the transition that are at play. So when you're doing this and associating hit factor, not at every yard line, but at the total. So I have, when I shoot 5 rounds at 5 yard lines, max points, 125, and then it takes me 10 seconds to do it, it's like, shit, I got a hit factor. But if it takes me 5 seconds to do it, I've got a totally different hit factor. And just with simple math, like I tell every class that I teach, like my highest level of education is math for Marines. I cheated on the MCI to pass it. Not the smartest dude in the bunch, but I do know how to recognize metrics of success very well and adopt them very quickly. Like I'm not in love with what is mine today, could be completely different of what is mine tomorrow based off of experiences, or guys like Paul coming and telling me, dude, I've got a solution to our common problem, which our common problem was guys were shooting it as fast as they could, but not able to recall what that engagement felt like, looked like, and then also be able to replicate it over and over again.
Yep.
to where we understood it, but not able to kind of compartmentalize like our diagnosis accurately enough. Like there's a video in 2023 that we had shot in Massachusetts. It was when Paul was AIing for me, and it's insane. He shoots the dope drill with his pistol at 25 yards, and he threw 2 mics. And I'm like, me as the primary instructor, as I'm walking down, I'm not making excuses for Paul, but I'm like, what can I turn to make this a learning point and value? So I'm like, so guys, what we learned here is that 25 yards, very difficult distance to shoot at the speeds that Paul was going. What does he need to do? I was not getting to the point of like slow down to get your hits. That's a mediocre excuse. I believed in that then. But what I was talking about was maybe taking a little bit more time to settle in the sight before he started to engage. Paul cuts me off and says, no, that's all bullshit, Rick. He's like, I need to quit violating the principles that I'm violating behind the gun, shoot at those same speeds, but make sure I'm maintaining the proper principles that I'm forced to maintain and have a discipline behind the gun at those speeds. And I need to shoot this again. He literally goes back to 25 yards. We mark it, and I'm like, okay, bet, Paul. We go back, and I'm like, I fucking hope this works. And he goes back. He doesn't just shoot it faster. He crushed all alphas. Yeah. And I was like, dude, I'm thinking, I'm so glad that worked. But what a reinforcement that the shooter's diagnosis, when he, was the major asset to the dope drill of adding hit factor, and that being a huge accuracy refinement of what he did wrong, to then go and make an immediate correction and action to make it even better, faster. Yeah. Like, that was so cool. And when the students saw that, this is why Paul Costa's classes in Granby, Massachusetts sell out every single time he goes there. And it's like, you got other trainers that will go up there, and these same trainers that talk shit about Paul because now he's doing successful things with AHT, and they can't fill a class in Granby, Massachusetts, but he's crushing. And it's like, because that one time that you were just, nope, I know exactly what I did wrong, and he proved it and was able to perform on demand exactly what he called wrong and called out without using the common excuse of I'll just slow down to get my hits and make my accuracy a little bit better because I'm degrading my skill. No, I'm going to actually require more from my skill, rise to the occasion because I know exactly the principles that I violated, just not violate them the next time I do it.
Well, the interesting thing in that story is awesome. And I've heard that once before, I think from you and Paul were explaining this to me, but 2 things I want to address. One, it's interesting to see the dope drill in the country, across the country.
Oh, yeah.
I've traveled now. I've been traveling with my business. I go out to Missouri, right, and I meet a group of guys, and they love Paul. They love you.
Yeah.
Paul went out there, and these guys, they ladder step their progression from the dope drill. They run it every single day.
They do.
And they are constant believers, and it's a true test to your abilities. And like what I appreciate you saying is, it could be daily. You could suck one day and crush it the next, right? But it really is a curriculum for performance, and I absolutely love it. Now back to the other side, the man card drill. It's brought up at every training. Mm-hmm. I've had people in my classes say, well, let's run the man card drill. I said, well, I can't give you a man card.
Yeah.
But talking about the man card drill, being a police officer for 20 plus years, there's nothing more relatable now in today's training that is realistic and as close to pragmatic when it comes to sudden high intensity threats in your face right fucking now. Mm-hmm. I need to get my gun out of the holster, or if it's a rifle, whatever it is, there's nothing that's more relatable than the man card drill right now, which I believe is truly a standard that law enforcement needs to understand at a deeper level. Mm-hmm. Just like you did, there is still a overwhelmingly large amount of police officers that can't get their gun out of the holster in 3 seconds, and you know that. So I just wanted to just let you know that it's interesting to see it, and it's exciting to see it. So I mean, hats off again to you for the man card drill and your team, and also the dope drill, which I run all the time, and it's a metric of measurement for me. So I love that.
But that was the biggest thing getting out and starting this training company. Watching how things were comprised, taught, and then consistently trained in the military, and then also in seeing how that was established in law enforcement, and just when you root it down to everything's based on the success of the outcome, it's like that's okay, but now you have shooters, especially like in the Opadakwa, they'll draw, they'll take their sweet time off their offlining step, they'll shoot, they'll look over their sight to confirm there's a round in paper, then they'll shoot again because now they feel cozy. And it's like, dude, I've met Utah County SWAT dude that took rounds to the chest because he did that exact thing. He looked for the outcome rather than, he studied the process for the last 15 years in training. He already knows what the outcome is. He shoots his sights, so he knows that the alignment's there, and based off training experience, training the right way, not the wrong way, focusing on the outcome got him shot. And because when he returned fire to that suspect, that guy still wanted to kill him. He was still motivated, probably even more motivated to take his life at faster rates. So yeah, he took rounds to realize that bop, look over your sight, and then continue shooting has consequences. So we're wanting our law enforcement officers to be more educated and trained to a higher degree and level. And that's where I got into a lot of friction in law enforcement. I was lucky with the agency I worked for. They recognized my passion and expertise within firearms and being able to teach in the space. So they put me in over 20-year dudes, 15-year dudes, and that ruffled some feathers because law enforcement, and unfortunately, was when I went in 2017, was very seniority based.
Yep.
To get position work, especially the extracurricular, like SWAT, you get a stipend, you get stipend for being a firearms instructor, and it's like everyone wants that extra pay just to live outside their fucking means. But for me, I wanted it because it was not going to provide me credentials to make more money. Like, I was doing fine without any kind of credentials, and it's amazing how many guys put so much like stock in their FLETC cert.
Sure.
Their law enforcement firearms instructor credentials. Oh, I taught military and law enforcement units since '94, and it's like, well, then you watch the shooting skill of that individual, or you watch the teaching skill of that individual. You just have a conversation with that individual, and you realize very quickly he can't even formulate a sentence, let alone carry a conversation. I know for a fact this isn't going to be a fun class. It's going to be dry. It's going to be dumb. And the level of mediocrity I was met with, and that I tried to crush and not allow to exist at my agency, but unfortunately, because of the cancers that exist in law enforcement, and I root that back, especially when it's related to on-the-range firearms training. Yeah, sure, not every cop needs to be a gun guy or a gun gal, but at the same time, it's a very important part of being an armed professional is being proficient with that firearm so you don't make bad mistakes and keep giving black eyes to the law enforcement community as a whole. And seeing these individuals just be totally okay with failing the Opadakwa, and I'm like, guys, or passing the Opadakwa, and then when I say, all right, we're going to conduct 2 hours more of training, half of them don't want to be there, or I even say we're going to conduct another hour. That way I give you guys an hour to go do weapons maintenance, get home on time, beat the man because you're getting to go home early type deal. They still don't want to be there. And I'm like, you're getting paid time and a half to shoot guns. Like, I don't know what else. You know how many people would pay for an opportunity like this?
Oh, yeah.
Like, they pay you for the opportunity. Yep. So, and that's why it was, because I witnessed that, I was like, my career in law enforcement is going to be very short-lived. I have met amazing individuals like yourself that are currently active in law enforcement that have been holding a much, much, much higher standard. We had an entire squad of LEOs coming from Columbus, Cincinnati, Delaware County, like all over the Central Ohio area and Southern Ohio and west part of Ohio, all squatted up, shooting together, competing against other guys. And it was like, that didn't exist in 2017. And the guys that were doing it were just like here and there. We got a whole squad now. And it's like that cultural shift that we're starting to now see starts with guys like us. And then it starts with when guys like us now say we can be better on our own and leave. Well, now it's guys like you that have to, instead of wearing 6 different hats, like, my experience of guy wearing 6 different hats in a leadership role who can't make a fucking decision just to save time, save money, or save lives, that's a problem. So now I'm starting to see a lot of good cultural shift around shooting in law enforcement space where they're starting to associate even the Opadakwa with hit factor, running it from the 50 in, and it's all total time of engagement. It's all the same things Opadakwa with the dominant, non-dominant, 2 to the chest, 1 to the head, 2 from the 50, 3 at the 30, and it's like, this is cool. This is really freaking cool that we're seeing LEOs kind of pave the way, but it's a younger generation. So we, unfortunately, have to wait on almighty grandfather time to weed these old guys out who can't make decisions, who won't adopt new policies or evolve. Once they're gone, I think that there's going to be a lot of great change in law enforcement at the larger scale entities. Maybe not the podunk village departments, like 10, 12-man departments, but definitely at the larger ones. Why? Because it's a forced change. Like, performance speaks.
Yep.
And the hit factor is an unbiased unit of measure that is not, it makes your job very easy.
Yep.
I can set up a course of fire, we'll run it for hit factor, and now I don't have to know, hey, what do you think a good time is from draw at this distance,
Won't matter.
this size of target?
Yep.
It's like, don't matter, dude. It's based off of the size of target, the distance you're at, and the difficulty or the capabilities and limitations that the shooter has behind the gun. That's going to dictate the hit factor. Now, if we say this is a goal hit factor, what do we have? A bunch of law enforcement officers that aren't so stressed and worried behind gun to make a time frame and do a mediocre result anyway. Now we have them shooting for a hit factor goal that literally has no cap. Like, you can just, hey, I'm going to shoot 3 rounds, 2 to the chest, 1 to the head at the 9 feet of distance for the opodic wall, and I'm going to go, instead of bop, look over my sight, bop, and then take my sweet time, doing obsolete shit and shooting to hit the tee box in the head. Now we got guys doing it, bop, 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 like
Yep.
bop, 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 and it's like, holy shit. Well, the guy that did it like that, and it just as accurate as the guy who took 3 seconds, 9 seconds to do it, it's like, I want that guy on my team. I don't want her. I don't want him.
Yep.
I want that guy or gal because they are an asset to the team I'm forming as a SWAT officer, right? So it's very important. I hope that it continues to change and continues to evolve in the space, because I know a lot of great LEOs. I've trained a lot of great LEOs. I still have a passion to to serve those individuals who are serving people that don't give a shit about their existence and don't even like them. All because they wear a gun and a badge. Like, I've met dudes in trailer parks just so foul towards me, and I'm like, bro, we can relate on something. I know based off that deer head that's in your trailer right now,
we can relate
on something. And then it's amazing when you go into that trailer, they're all spiced up and fired up, and you're like, dude, is that last year's season? Like, is that last year's buck? And he's like, oh no, that was 3 years ago. It's like, we just diffused the situation.
100%.
But it's like, that was the cool experience that I had in law enforcement, to provide me that capability I never had. Like, I'd come home and start a fight with my wife. I'd come home even as a kid and start a fight with my brother. And it was all because of something conflicting in the way I didn't receive well, right?
Yep.
And it's like, well, with law enforcement, you're going to be thrown at every situation that you're not going to receive well. You're going to have to figure out how to receive it well, process it, and dish it back out.
Right.
And it's made me a better father. It's made me a better husband. It's made me just better at the job that I currently do and make a living at.
No, there's 100% truth in that and everything you said. But to go back on one thing, a couple things. But most importantly, I think back to when you were talking about the training aspect and everything that was going with it. What I love to see and what I love hearing is that you see the change as a national instructor for law enforcement.
Yeah.
Because I see it as well. But unfortunately, I can tell you firsthand, and you already know this, but I can tell you firsthand that the problem that we've had with law enforcement, and I'm not afraid to tell anybody this, if somebody asks my advice, if I'm doing an assessment, it could be anything, is we have allowed law enforcement, I include myself in this, just because it's such an overbearing, such a large problem. We have allowed our lowest common denominator, our laziest officer, to be successful.
Yeah.
And we can't allow that.
Yeah.
And especially in the firearms industry, where you have done a great job building an empire. I am working on doing something that I can give back to officers just like you have. We can't allow that person that can't pass qualification to just get them through. Hey, run them through. No, they should be in the range. And I digress, but you get it. I think that's one of the biggest things. But I have started to see the change as well, and it is a younger generation. And I think it's because whether it be social media, whether it be the drills, there's an achievable goal that they want to go after. But I actually have seen this younger generation of law enforcement really diving into being a better officer tactically in the shooting world, and even what we just talked about. But you can't express what you learned on the road, even if for a short amount of time.
Yeah.
The life lessons it taught you, and then the deer, last year's buck,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that's ultimate right there.
Right.
But so I appreciate that. Let's shift gears before we wrap things up here. Let's talk about ORD, man.
Yeah.
Let's bring that in, and because that everybody loves ORD.
Yeah.
And that's all that everybody talks about every year, and then it's coming up again next year. Let's dive into that. Let's give a little history and jump into it.
Yeah. So Ohio Range Day, this thing turned into a wild beast, but it's one of those marketing with high standards events. It started with 25 dudes and a pizza. It wasn't even my idea. Two guys came up to me and were like, they just hit me up and they're like, "Hey man, we started this like group chat on like WhatsApp or whatever, little back channel, like untrackable. What's the other one?
Signal.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's what it was. It was a Signal chat. We got 30 dudes in the Signal chat, and we want all of us to meet, and we don't have a range, and you have access to a range." And I was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll host it." And they were like, "Can you kind of like organize like a training day, just like drills, not like teaching or anything?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And it went from dudes coming from with one buddy coming from Chicago and all over the place, coming to bumfuck Ohio, to a stupid LE range in Rittman, Ohio. And nobody knew anybody except for everyone's had conversations in the Signal chat that I wasn't a part of. I knew the two guys that reached out to me and a couple others. Greg from Neomag, another great company in Northeast Ohio, he came and kind of like wanted to just be a part. He didn't like bring product or try to put a Neomag in everyone's pocket, right. But he's like, "I'll come up with a drill." He had a drill and it was a great drill. It just incorporated the Neomag and was awesome. But we had a fantastic range day. And it was going to be the whole day. So I'm like, well, shit, I guess we need to like pull money together and get like a pizza. So I was like, everyone bring $25 and I'll pay the range so they're happy. And then I'll also get us pizza. So they $25 and a pizza turned into something that's over 3 days, $800 price tag. And you have to be selected to be there. And this all started from 25 dudes and a pizza and Neomag, Greg coming to me and saying, "Dude, we got to make this bigger." And I'm like, "You're absolutely right. What do we call it?" He's like, "I don't know. I'll come up with some thoughts. You come up with some thoughts." I was sitting in my cruiser, we're on a conversation, and he's like, "Dude, I don't know. I think we're just going to call it Ohio Range Day." I was like, "Yeah, you're probably right. It's probably the only like thing that makes sense for the moment." Dude, after we started Ohio Range Day, Texas Range Day, AZ Range Day, California Range Weekends, there's now ones, you had whatever in Georgia, you had like a bunch of different ones pop up. All of them have fizzled out. All of them. There's like maybe a handful of little back channel ones that like go, and it's like this event. Paul and I talk about it. We're like, what is the secret magic about this event that has made it so big and so virally attractive and has brought so much business to Achilles Heel Tactical? And not just in the event space itself. It's like, I found you through ORD and a viral video, or this dude's audience basically brought me to you, and it was just like, holy cow, this is insane. It's now turned into, we have 12 trainers. We're now using your range as a satellite location to the current location. We ran it from year one of making it officially ORD. And from ORD 2019 to now ORD 2025, it has evolved over the years to be something incredible. And Paul and I were talking, we think that the only reason it has kept up and been able to sustain while others have failed all the way through COVID, and then after COVID, it's just grown every freaking year, is not because of the experiences. It's not, the helicopter, shooting out of the helicopter. It's not the sponsors. It's the training that's provided. It's who we're bringing in as trainers, but also who they're around training with. So this is something that guys have tried to make carbon copies of, and it's failed. And I don't take credit for my vetting system, but I do approve every single person that's there, like me. Nobody else. This isn't a task that I send out to a third party, send to Paul and say, "Hey, choose 5, Dave, you choose 50. Paul, or it doesn't work like that. Like, I select every single person there. I select them based off an application that they submit almost a year in advance. That application tells me a lot about the person. It's who you are, what you've been doing for the last 12 months, and then what you've been doing the last lifetime, right? So it tells me who your references are. So when I see a guy saying, hey, I work alongside on the CERT team, and I've worked with Tim Eliopoulos with Delta Strategic, I know Ryan Petit, it's like, cool, I could call Ryan or I could call Tim and say, who is this guy? Because he's got no training listed except for like OPATA courses, OTOA courses, or NTOA classes. Oh, dude, the guy is a savage dude. He's regularly shooting competition. He's selling himself short. Like, he's an absolute asset to have. And it's like, cool, that's all I need to know. Click, he's accepted. And it's literally that for every attendee. We have 250 attendees this year, and everyone was selected by me. We have men, women, we have military, law enforcement, we have from fucking Navy SEALs to tier 1 dudes overseas, from European trainers to European sponsors. It's absolutely grown to be a worldwide sensation. And you know, some aspects of it, like the mag dump, was a very viral, attractive thing that people would then capture their attention while they're in their scroll culture, and their brain stops them on something that's just like, holy fuck, how did nobody die? Like, it's like, right. Yeah, dude, nobody died. We had a blast. We do this giant mag dump. Why? Because it's tradition from where I come from. Every range that I've ever been to, the gunner would show up on the range. He'd be like, how's my snipers doing? We'd be like, oh, good, gunner. And he'd be like, you know how much that round costs? And I'd be like, I don't know. He's like, that Raufoss round costs about $13 every time you press the trigger. None of that can come back home. Like, good to go. Boom, 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 boom. Just having a great time in the military. Bag dumping. And like, there's no better training of like recoil management and figuring out what a good stance is and how to actually absorb, mitigate that recoil, redirect the energy back to the gun, than to throw that motherfucker on full auto and just rip. And
let it rip.
Yeah, and it was so fun. And it brought from a miserable training experience, like just getting pissed on for the last 3 weeks, 10 days, whatever the field op was or the range was, from something that obviously brought us all together with misery and challenge and adversity, to also performing as a team and making mistakes and doing things positive, and then debriefing and saying this was awesome. And then the mag dump was the celebration that it was all over and that we learned something and that we could go back and we were prepared better than what we were prior to that to go to war. And that was a cool thing to, you know, for the future wars that this country is going to fight. It has to continue. When I got out of the military and entered law enforcement, I lost a lot of what I had as like a brotherhood within a team network. And it was, you know, this blue brotherhood thing. And I was like, I'm going to tread lightly on this. I told my wife, I said, be careful how many of these wives you befriend and think at face value that they're good people. Let's just let time kind of show their character, and over time they'll be exposed. And I was very right on that assessment, because the guys that I served with in the military and their wives, like, we would literally die for each other. We would literally be there for each other. We'd literally been in the most miserable conditions with each other. And with that kind of level of misery comes a bond of true brotherhood.
True brotherhood.
And there is true brotherhood in law enforcement, but it comes from extreme adversity and when there's nothing to gain from screwing the guy to the left or to the right of you. And that's the thing that unfortunately I was not seeing. That was missing in law enforcement. So I wanted to let the civilian experience that. Let the law enforcement officer and the military guys have that again. Like, there's so many military veterans that come to me and they're like, dude, this has kept me from eating my gun. And I'm like, are you serious? Like, not like in the aspect of like, I've never been in a depressed part of space in my headspace and mental health, but like, for you, this event is the reason why you kept it all together, just to come to this event and see it. And I'm like, it's all fucking worth it from there. Like, that right there told me everything I need to know. Is we got to continue, we got to keep pressing on, we got to make it better. If it's, you know, an experience of why you're come, I guarantee you nobody's signing up for ORD because of the UF Pro sponsor. They're not coming because of Safariland sponsoring. They're not coming because there's an opportunity to shoot out of a helicopter. That's just icing on the cake.
Yep.
The trainers that we vet and have, I vet them by going to their classes. I vet them by knowing who they are, or having someone to give as a reference of vouching for, hey, Alex Hartman's a savage at long range precision. Well, guess who got to, you know, experience Alex Hartman's savagery? I did. I was in his class. I get to witness this, and I'm like, dude, this guy's a great teacher. He knows what he's doing.
Yep.
He could benefit this event. He's a good dude. He's also a savage businessman, has no time to talk shit around people's back. So you never hear anything about, yeah, dude, Alex Hartman just told me this about this guy. It's like, no, he's an A-class instructor.
Yep.
A-class instructors are too busy to
100%.
dwell in that kind of pit. So that's how we bring those guys in. And then every single person there is a hitter. Like girl, guy, it doesn't matter.
Yep.
They are savages, and they have a competitive drive like I've never seen it even matches, bro. Like they love to compete, they love to shoot their asses off. They're there for 16-hour days, all 3 days. From sun up to sundown, we shoot day one.
Yep.
Sun up to sundown, we shoot day two, and it's an 8-hour day on that day 3 for the training. And you can train with 2 trainers. You get to pick your allotment of, this is my first choice through my 12th choice. Dude, this year we have an incredible opportunity to have even explosive mechanical and ballistic breaching with the guild guys coming. Shane and Foster and those guys are coming out, and they're going to produce for military and active military and active law enforcement officers a breaching class that most guys would just drool over. You're one of those guys that get to go into that class. So it's so cool that we've attracted the talent, not just in the attendees, not just in the sponsors, but also the trainers. And there's going to be a lot of change coming to the trainers in 2026. Dude, incredible lineup we have for training staff. If your range opens up more bays, dude, we will be using every square inch of your place as well as Southington. And if we ever have to move this place, or move this event, it's going to be an incredible challenge that I'm absolutely up to taking on. Run at my place, run at Cardinal Shooting Sports where they run nationals and stuff. So we have other options if we decide to take it elsewhere. But it's been incredible to watch that grow over time. Again, I didn't even come up with the idea. It's something that I loved, saw the inner workings of, and saw the benefits and the amount of guys that are just finding value. They came with one friend, they leave with a huge community that they can always network with, they can rely on, they can talk to, they can ask, when's the next time you're going to go shoot that match, and they go shoot it with them. They keep this lifelong friendship up based off of one experience that we were able to host and provide.
Well, I can attest for 5 years now what it is I'm going on for Ohio Range Day. Ohio Range Day is everything that you just stated, but I want to add a little bit to that. Mm-hmm. Not only do you leave with a group of friends, you leave with a network of beliefs that you guys all have the same share of. And on top of that, it is the experience. But overwhelmingly, because of your selection, this is what I could get a read of as a student of ORD or a participant. You do select the right crowd where everybody gets to mingle together, that can have fun, that can relate, they can enjoy themselves. But the training side of it, there's never been somebody at Ohio Range Day. And, I've taken all the long range stuff. I've taken the pistol stuff. I've taken your classes. There's nobody there that wasn't worth signing up for, and everybody would do this outside of ORD. So you're bringing absolute hammers there, so that's 100% correct. But something that you missed, and I think it's important, is it may not have been your idea. ORD might not have been your idea, but there's not a single person who can say that it hasn't become probably the most important range event of the year. You and I both went to Las Vegas this past year for SHOT Show. Mm-hmm. Prairie Fire didn't impress me.
Yeah.
The range event didn't impress me. You know what does impress me? Ohio Range Day. Because of the atmosphere, because of the instructors, because of the work that you've put in, whether it was your idea or not. What it's grown to is incredible. And I'm just super excited to be there. I'm super excited that you came out and talked with us. And I appreciate you coming out, man. I really do.
This is great. I appreciate the opportunity.
Where can everybody find you? Socials, Facebook, website. Where can guys find you?
They can. AchillesSealTactical.com. They can find us on all socials, from YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all the things. The training center, AeroConceptsTrainingCenter.com. That can get you access to all the events that we host, the other trainers that we host there. You guys can jump into USPSA matches. You can find those on our events page and practice score. You can find the whole club there. So that's where everyone can find us, and always, willing to reach out via email, DM, always responding to those kinds of requests. If you guys ever want to host us, that's the way to do it.
So 2026 ORD is probably already in preparation.
Yeah.
Can everybody register from your website?
Yeah.
For anybody who wants to attend ORD next year.
Yeah. On our website, AchillesHillTactical.com. You can even use OhioRangeDay.com to find the page. We have opened up applications, which is wild because it's like prior to the event, we open applications. We let people know we only accept 600 because I'm like bleeding at the eyes to go through all of these. So apply. Believe it or not, we opened those last week. We're over 200 applicants already. So it's like,
wow,
it's going to be filled here
Good
soon.
for you.
And so we already basically have enough numbers to just go ahead and slot for the next year's event. I typically, the way that's structured is I will look for all new attendees, like new talent, who can we bring in, and I'll survey that whole thing. And then I'll create a sub list of guys that have been there maybe a year or 2 years prior, like yourself. And then I will save quite a few spots throughout the year to actually recruit. Because like I'll have a guy in a class, or Paul will have a guy, or Dave will have a guy in a class, or Shane, and they're like, dude, this guy's a savage. He's great people. That's who we're looking for. Good dudes. My major, he was a Force Recon Marine, went Mustang, became an officer, and then he was my major. And he was my captain then and my major when I was in the military. And he would always say, company commander and all that between, he was always say, just be good dudes. Like surfer bro, like super simple guy to please and make happy. Captain Peacock and Major Peacock back in the day, shout out to that guy because he impacted me a lot. It's about finding good dudes and a good community, good networks to build. And you could build those yourself, which is really wild. And ORD is a perfect example of that.
Yeah, I can't agree more, man. I appreciate it. I just want to tell you this. I'm super stoked for this year's ORD. I'm super stoked to be a part of you and a friendship for you and have you come on. I know you've been busy and traveling, so any minute I can get with you to pick your brain and kind of view into your world of Empire, I appreciate it. So I just want to thank you again.
Yeah, dude.
Appreciate you.
Absolutely.